Now, gotu kola is the next herb for the memory and for the mind and for the brain. Because gotu kola, G-O-T-U, second word, cola, K-O-L-A, gotu kola, leaf. We're using the leaf. And here's an herb, gotu kola leaf, with a long history of brain building. Gotu kola is a mainstay of herbal medicine in Ayurveda. And it kind of got its way into the European treatment system many years ago. They adopted it. So it started out in India and wound up in Europe. Gotu kola is used in France. It was used in France in the 1880s. A standout herb for the nervous system. Gotu kola has a host of benefits for neurological recovery and cognition. The plant is a jungle creeper that grows in hot, moist climates in the south and the southeast Asian tropics, from India to the Philippines, and is commonly eaten raw as a green vegetable with many different kinds of foods, much like a salad herb. The herb is exceptionally high. Gotu kola is exceptionally high in B complex, especially B1, B2, and B6, all of which are essential nutrients for the nervous system. So gotu kola leaf is also called Brahmi, B-R-A-H-M-I, Brahmi, which means godlike, which is a nod to its anti-aging properties and to its use in cognition. Gotu kola leaf. It has a bitter taste and it's cooling to the body. And gotu kola leaf is used to promote circulation, especially in the blood vessels of the skin and the mucous membranes. It's a rejuvenator for the nerves and the brain. And as a main herb in South Asian herb, a main South Asian herb for the nervous system, and it is used both in the repair of nerve tissue from crushing trauma, such as a spinal injury, its neuromuscular disorders, and to increase general brain function, memory, concentration, and mental acuity. That's gotu kola leaf. Gotu kola leaf strengthens memory, concentration, and intelligence, and it promotes longevity. This remedy is used to treat disorders as diverse as epilepsy, senility, hair loss, and psoriasis. A study in rats with gotu kola leaf showed an impressive improvement in memory. The treated rats were able to retain learned behavior 3 to 60 times better than the control rats. A Korean study shows that the constituents in gotu kola show potential for treating Alzheimer's disease. Follow-up animal research from India used gotu kola tea to improve cognitive behavior in 2 different types of experiments in a laboratory model. Gotu kola leaf is an anti-inflammatory antioxidant. The active substances in gotu kola are thought to be triterpenes, which are steroid-like compounds, which have a balancing effect on the connective tissues. These triterpenes improve the function and integrity of the collagen matrix and support the ground substance, the basic glue that holds the cells of our bodies together. Since gotu kola is basically a mild salad vegetable, the dose can be very high. Try 1 to 4 tablespoons of fresh juice every morning. For acute skin disease, use 1 to 2 ounces of dry herb by weight as a tea per day. Many people use a modest dose of 6 to 24 drops per day in tinctures for daily rejuvenation. It is often taken with ghee, which is clarified butter. Try a cup of gotu kola tea with some raw honey before meditation. Then there's an herb called calamus root. Calamus root is a major herb for the mind in Asian medicine. It is said to stimulate the power of self-expression, to enhance intelligence. Calamus root we're talking about. Calamus, it helps with self-expression and enhances intelligence. The ancient yogis and seers used calamus root, and it promotes circulation in the brain. Calamus root heightens memory, enhances awareness, increases communication and self-expression. Calamus root is a bitter herb that acts as an anti-gas, digestive. It'll help get rid of gas. And it's mucolytic. So its uses in autism. Calamus also has a warming respiratory, it's very warming for respiratory functions. And so it's working on the respiratory, it's working on the digestive, it's helping autism. Calamus root. This herb is often combined with gotu kola, which has a cooling and mild effect. The complementary energetics makes the combination suitable for a wide variety of people. In attention deficit disorder conditions, its calamus root combines well with gotu kola leaf and valerian and licorice over a long term. And calamus will warm the body and pacify the mind. And there's our extensive observation of people using calamus to treat epilepsy, especially juvenile, petit mal, absence, seizures. And it is dramatically effective, often completely replacing anticonvulsant medication. Caution, do not treat epilepsy casually. It is a serious and complicated condition with many causes and a collection of associated family and social issues. Epilepsy, very serious. Cross-taper the dose of calamus with the medication with close monitoring and always consulting with your qualified professional. For epilepsy, again, use calamus, gotu kola, and valerian root. And you can add some licorice also if you want some an energizer. But calamus root, you know, you have to be careful with calamus root because it's quite emetic. In doses much larger than the suggested dose, it could cause, as an emetic, it could cause vomiting. So don't be using large doses of calamus root. It may, just stay with a suggested dose. And calamus root may not be compatible for co-administration with other psychoactive drugs. Although little is known about these concerns, I'm concerned and want to make sure that we're watching that so that it don't happen. So if you're using it with other, just know that there's not a lot of history on that issue. So it seems almost a shame to use such a powerful and valuable herb as calamus, on a common stomach or lung problems. But calamus is quite serviceable for dyspepsia, for cough. You combine it with licorice root. It works well for that. In British herbal tradition, calamus root is thought to be a stomach acid balancer. A dose of up to 10 drops of tincture per day will reduce acid, while higher doses of more than 10 drops actually stimulate acid production. Calamus root is a potent herb, so the effective dose is quite reasonable, which increases compliance, and that would be 6 to 30 drops per day. Work up gradually to an effective dose. And now we get to the most serious part of this report, as it gets into seizures. Seizures. Obviously, treating seizures with natural remedies is a very tricky area. There must necessarily be much overlap with the medical practice, and it absolutely requires medical overview, like Doc Miles, a naturopathic medical overview. Now, however, we should be reminded that epilepsy is a clinical diagnosis, not an assessment made by an EEG. It's not an assessment. It's a diagnosis, a clinical diagnosis. If the seizures are improving, presumably, that is to the good. That is to the good, and this condition has great potential for working with the drugs and moving over and into natural medicine in combination until you don't need the medical drugs. And one of the other herbs here for epilepsy is lobelia leaf, which is a classic American remedy for preventing and treating seizures, and has a very long record of exceptional success. American herbalists reported that often this herb alone, with daily preventive doses, will be curative over a few months. There is essentially no science behind this herb, so we are relying on case reports from a century ago, because it was vilified unfairly over a century ago. There was reported that lobelia killed somebody, and then they took it to court, and finally they got the man on the stand that said that that he witnessed that it killed somebody, and so they asked him, well, what happened? And he said, well, I used it. And they said, well, what happened? He said, well, I had asthma. And they said, well, what happened? And he said, well, I took that lobelia and it made me vomit. And I got all this asthma out of my body, and I don't have asthma anymore, but I didn't like that. So that's why I charged him with murder. So it wasn't really a case of murder. They didn't have a case, But that's how ridiculous it was. They vilified the herb, and that reputation stayed with lobelia to this day. And it's a wonderful herb. Consider using lobelia in a tea, tincture, or capsule for prevention of epilepsy. Use the tincture sublingually underneath the tongue and massage lobelia, this liquid, into the base of the skull during a seizure to bring rapid relief. The pure acidified seed tincture may be stronger than the acidified fresh herb tincture, which in turn is stronger than the dry herb vinegar extract of lobelia. So, and even a vinegar extract, is a possibility. You could use that. It would be less strong, I feel, acidically, if you did that. So that's one way to use it against seizures. Lobelia can be nauseating. It's an emetic. It's important to increase the dose carefully to the therapeutic levels when you're using lobelia, which can vary. They can vary a lot, depending on the individual, the needs in the case. So this must be determined by a case-by-case individual. The typical daily use of lobelia is 5 grams in tea or capsules, or the tincture, 20 to 30 drops. These all refer to divided doses taken with food, and the patient can go higher if needed and tolerated. We're going to talk about one last herb quickly, and then we'll be finished with our autism report. And not only autism, but we're finding out about seizures, epilepsy, and brain disorders. Anyway, black cohosh is our last herb we're going to talk about. Black cohosh has a history of noted anti-seizure activity. Black cohosh root, although now known more for other applications, this herb, black cohosh root, was used extensively in the past as a relaxant, using 20 to 30 drops per day. Herbal medicine holds great promise for supporting health and life. We apply it to autism in a rational and a balanced way. We can expect to see some breakthroughs. Make a point to look at this widely used medicinal system to promote positive change in digestion, cognition, emotional balance, and brain balance. And you'll see that it has a lot to offer. So that's the report on autism. Doc, did you have anything more you wanted to chat about here?
Well, I want to ask you a question. Do you have a formula specifically for autism already made up? Does Brittany have that?
That's something that we could make up, but there is not a specific formulation for autism. Let's take a look at, let me take a look at a couple of formulations here that may answer your question, and that would be formula.
The problem is, get an autistic child like my grandson, there's no way that you can get him to take anything strange. You have to camouflage it and get it into him.
Yes.
So it would have to be like one particular liquid.
Yes.
That my son could put it in some food and get it down him.
Yes. 1, 6.
So if you could get with Brittany and come up with a an herbal liquid for autism, and she could send me a sample bottle of it, and I could test it on my grandson.
Yeah.
And see how it works.
Whoops. So here is a kit called ADD ADHD kit that has a memory focus support herb formula in it. So let's take a look at a memory focus support herbal formula. Okay, let's take a look at that. And I'm opening it in a new link. And I'm going to look at that 1006, formerly called ADD/ADHD support, but they didn't like that. So it, where is it? There it is. Okay, got that 1006 focus support formula. And it has ginkgo leaf, gotu kola leaf, Eleutherococcus senticosus, Siberian ginseng, and photai root, which I didn't get into, but that's the oldest living Chinese man. It lived about 260 years, always drank photai root to keep his mind sharp. Valerian root is in there to calm the nervous system. Mistletoe, skullcap leaf, hops flower, and passion flower. That's all in one formulation. And that is called Focus Support, formerly called ADD/ADHD support. So that's where we're combining ginkgo and gotu kola, and along with eleuthero for stamina, and photai root. This gives mental stamina. Valerian root, relaxing and cooling down the nervous system. Mistletoe doing the same. Skullcap doing the same. Hops doing the same, and also passion flower. So it's a really calming, but mentally focusing, where you're calming down the nervous system and feeding the nervous system and opening up with the ginkgo leaf and the gotu kola. You're opening up the brain. So yeah, that's one formula that is called number 1006, focus support. But let's get back to this kit that has all of these things in it. So that's one of the things. You get a 2-ounce bottle of that. It also has a muscle relaxant in that kit. If somebody needs a muscle relaxant, and sometimes that is something that is needed. There's also melatonin in this ADD/ADHD kit, and so there's melatonin, there's blue vervain. So that's just in one kit to be considered, but was that helpful?
Well, yeah, I'll talk to Brittany about it and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, because you've hit on something that needs to be explored. So you're right on with that. And so, yeah, if you'll do that, when she gets back, she took her 2 girls and promised them if they were going to be, good kids, because they're they're teenagers, her oldest 2. And she promised that she'd take them to Utah for a week and they could visit with friends, because they used to live in Utah and they still have lots of friends there. So the 2 girls and Brittany went to Utah. She's on vacation for a whole week. Isn't that something?
That's great.
Yeah, it is. Well, she's got those 5 girls, and so she has to spread herself out, with them all the time and so forth. And she just loves her kids, and this was a chance for her and the 2 oldest girls to, get away and have a little bit of fun. Bless them. So.
Yeah,
anyway,
bless her heart. She got me all caught up on the joint and the lipid and all that kind of stuff last week. So I'm just really tickled to death.
Good for her. I'm glad that she did that before she, and she's been working so hard. Bless her heart. I know she worked 14 days straight without a day off. So
I know.
Oh my goodness. So
well, we did that when we were her age, right?
Oh, yes, we did. A lot of times, brother. Oh, my goodness. I saw so many double shifts that life became a blur.
I remember when years and years and years ago when I first started in putting my own capsules together, I worked 7 days a week for 7 months.
Oh yeah.
Putting all that stuff together and putting it on the shelf and selling it and making more the next weekend. I mean, I did that for 7 months.
Yes. I've done that for so long. I'm still doing 7 days a week. I don't remember. I took a vacation once about 10 years ago, but by the time I took that vacation, I was so worn out that I actually got the flu on vacation. Yeah,
that's terrible.
And I didn't have any of my herbs right there to take care of myself, so I was miserable until I got back home. I think that made me kind of vacation shy.
There you go.
Maybe not. One of these days I'll take a vacation. Anyway, and now here's another. These kits. There's several kits, and here's a memory and focus kit, and that has a memory stimulant in it, a memory stimulant formula that has the ginkgo leaf, gotu-kola leaf, eleuthero, and photai. So it has that in there. It also has a brain balance to balance, and this is where this may be helpful for seizures. The brain balance formula number 1072 has gotu-kola leaf. It has Atlantic seaweed kelp, alfalfa leaf, dandelion root, hydrangea root, safflower, and parsley root, and there's that photai again, and that is a brain balancing herbal formulation, and of course there's the 100 fix focus support formula, and then there's just plain ginkgo leaf by itself. But all of that is in a memory and focus plus kit. So these there, and when you get these kits, that's where that's where Brittany is combining several different things all in one kit for the memory. And there's a couple of those. So looking at those memory and focus kits and memory focus plus kit, those, all of those things could be helpful. And there's brain boost products that she has also to increase the memory with some very interesting herbs and nutritional supplements that boost your ability to remember everything. So yeah, so talking with Brittany when she gets back, and see what we can get together and make up. Okay.
That'll work.
All right. Brother, is there anything else? We better check back in the room here and ask people one last time, because I know Doc has got to go, because we've kept him past the top of the hour here, and he's got to go feed the animals and so forth. But I think we could ask him to stay if somebody had a question or a comment and they wanted to ask before he leaves. All you got to do is press the star key 2 times, because we're looking for another topic, another suggestion, another report, something more that we can talk about. And we like to hold on to Doc Miles here if we can. But otherwise, if looks like Doc, we have listeners today again. So we're gonna let you go and do your chores. This man, you must work about 14 or 16 hours just about every day.
Well, I'll put in a lot of hours, that's for sure.
I know you do. All right. Well, Doc, I want to thank you for joining us again. Doc Miles in Georgetown, Texas. And let's, his phone number is 512-868-9867. 512-868-9867. And his email is docmiles, outlook.com. Anyway, Doc, thank you again for joining us. Please, we look forward to seeing you again next week, I hope.
Okay, well, God bless you. Keep up the good work.
God bless you, sir. And thank you for joining us. Doc Miles in Georgetown, Texas. A wonderful, wonderful, knowledgeable man. And that still leaves lines open. If you have a question or a topic, press your start key 2 times. Or we're going to go pick another topic. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go over and press the button over here on Prophet Elijah. And I'm going to ask him if he's got another suggestion. The last one was great. Autism, you know, that was something we really needed to get into. And we did. So that's wonderful. And so anyway, let's go over here and ask him if he's got another question or another topic, because he might. I'm going to press the button here. Prophet Elijah, are you there, sir?
Yes, sir. I was pressing the star twice, but it didn't work. But I have another one. That's Graves' disease.
Graves' disease. Ah, yes. Hyperthyroidism. Graves' disease. So, you know, it just so happens that that's one of the topics that somebody asked me about this week. So let's go visit it again. Let's go talk about Graves' disease, hyperthyroidism, an overactive thyroid, and what the MDs do. They kill the thyroid, so it's not overactive. Yeah, they radiate it to death, and that's what they do. There's a better way, folks. There's a better way than killing your thyroid if it's overactive. Let's talk about it. Let's go over here and open up a tab. Let's go look at a report. I'm going to go over on, matter of fact, let's get back to Uber Conference here. And let's go over and open up. Let's go Google this. Where is it? Okay. And I want to look at Graves' disease remedies. What is, well, I'm going down here. Dun, dun, I'm looking for this. Graves' disease. There we go. This is a very good report on Graves' disease. Okay, some more tea. And 7 ways to help manage hyperthyroid symptoms by Dr. Axe, because he detailed it pretty good. I read this the other day, and he was right on. But he doesn't have my remedies, but he knows what he's talking about, because here's what he says. Did you know that there are over 80 different types of autoimmune disorders that affect various organs and glands and systems and functions throughout the body? Over 80 types of autoimmune disorders. Graves' disease. Graves' disease is a common autoimmune disorder characterized by an overproduction of thyroid hormones. The thyroid is considered one of the most important endocrine glands in the body. It produces hormones that affect nearly every aspect of life: hunger, sleep, reproduction, energy levels, metabolism, body weight, and more. You may have heard more about disorders caused by hypothyroidism, since they tend to be more common than hyperthyroid disorders. Hyperthyroid conditions cause the thyroid to be underactive. That's hypothyroid. Meaning that it doesn't produce enough thyroid hormones, hypothyroid. In the U.S., Graves' disease is the #1 cause of hyperthyroidism, or an overactive thyroid gland. So what is Graves' disease, and how can you treat this common thyroid issue naturally? Well, let's talk about what it is. Now, Graves' disease was first identified by an Irish physician, Robert Graves, about 150 years ago. Graves' disease symptoms can vary a lot depending on the individual and how severe this Graves' disorder has become, because the thyroid gland has such a widespread and important roles in the body. Symptoms of Graves' disease are usually very apparent and can affect overall well-being and health in many different ways. Graves' disease is an autoimmune disorder that affects the entire thyroid gland and results from an overproduction of thyroid hormones known as thyrotoxicosis. In the medical world, an autoimmune disorder is considered a chronic illness having no permanent cure. There's no cure if you have an autoimmune disorder, according to allopathic medicine. According to allopathic medicine, it's a chronic illness. You can have it forever if you've got an autoimmune disorder. Is how modern medicine approaches autoimmune disorders, having no permanent cure and needing to be controlled over time through various lifestyle changes and sometimes medications too. The primary goal of controlling Graves' disease is to stop the overproduction of thyroid hormones, which helps lower Graves' symptoms, including trouble sleeping, weight loss, eye bulging, known as Graves' orbitopathy, and personality changes. As you come to learn managing stress. Managing stress is one of the most important ways to fight autoimmune disorders, since some studies find that up to 80% of patients who develop an autoimmune disorder classify themselves as having suffered from high amounts of stress. It can be hard to diagnose and treat Graves' disease because many people who have symptoms of abnormal thyroid activity also experience symptoms that can be confused with other disorders. Some studies have found that someone to be diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder like Graves' disease usually requires the patient to visit an average of 5 doctors over the course of several years, causing a lot of uncertainty and grief in the process. It's often a stressful road to arrive at a diagnosis of Graves' disease. But fortunately, many people are able to help control the disorder well once they make certain adjustments to their diets, stress levels, and lifestyle. So, how Graves' disease develops? Normally, and nobody's normal. There's no such thing as normal, because nobody's normal. Everybody's different. Anyway, usually, thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, is released by the pituitary gland in the brain, and usually determines how much hormones the thyroid produces. But people with Graves' disease experience a break in normal communication between the pituitary gland and the thyroid gland, resulting in abnormal antibodies being released that mimic the TSH, therefore cause too much thyroid hormone to be circulated into the bloodstream. That's how it happens. Now, these antibodies are called thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin, TSI, and the thyrotropin receptor antibody, the TRAB. TSI cells have a similar effect on TSH, which we need in adequate amounts to help the thyroid function normally. But TSI antibodies cause the thyroid gland to produce excessive thyroid hormones above and beyond what is necessary and healthy. Since the thyroid mistakes these antibodies for TSH, they can override the normal signals sent to the pituitary gland and therefore cause hyperthyroidism as TSI and TRAB levels rise. Inflammation increases, which indicates that the immune system is working on overdrive and accidentally attacking the body's own healthy tissues. A harmful cycle can develop in people with Graves' disease because the more active the immune system becomes, the more bodily tissue is damaged. And then more activated T cells and autoantibodies are released. We produce several different kinds of thyroid hormones normally, including types called T3 and T4. Compared to healthy people without autoimmune or thyroid disorders, on a blood test, people with Graves' disease show abnormally high levels of T3 and T4 and low TSH and a high presence of TSI antibodies. Some of the most noticeable effects of Graves' disease are changes in someone's weight, their mood, and their appearance. That because hormones secreted by the thyroid gland control your metabolism, meaning your body's ability to use nutrients and calories from the food you eat in order to have enough energy. You've likely heard and noticed that genetics play a big part in developing someone's body weight. That's because the thyroid gland activity is somewhat hereditary. Therefore, so is the rate of someone's metabolism, hooked up with heredity. They're going to metabolize kind of the same way mom and dad did, or Uncle Joe, or aunt, or the aunt. The metabolic rate is determined by the amount of available circulating thyroid hormones. So when the thyroid gland secretes an overabundance of these hormones, the metabolism can shoot up and cause weight loss, anxiousness, and irritability. A link has been identified between Graves' disease and another thyroid disorder known as Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Hashimoto's is the most common cause of hyperthyroidism. And like Graves' disease, it's also an autoimmune disorder. Hashimoto's can sometimes develop after taking anti-thyroid medication as a treatment for Graves' disease, and as the medication causes the thyroid to slow production of thyroid hormones and moves towards hypothyroidism, driving it too low. Conventional treatments of Graves' disease. Many people with Graves suffer from physical feelings associated with anxiety, including fast heartbeat or pounding heartbeat, increased sweating, trembling, changes in appetite, trouble with digesting food normally, and difficulty getting a good sleep. Their physician will likely refer you to an endocrinologist or hormone specialist to diagnose these symptoms and develop a treatment plan. You notice it's not a cure, it's just to keep you sick and coming back system. There are 3 standard conventional treatment options for Graves' disease. One of them is an anti-thyroid medication. The 2 most common medications used to treat and destroy the thyroid diseases are, one of them is called methimazole, MMI, brand name Tapazole, and another name propylothiazole, PTU. An anti-thyroid medication works by limiting the amount of thyroid hormones released into the body, and it can result in hypothyroidism. The methimazole can cross the placental membrane, risking harm to the developing fetus. Therefore, pregnant women are cautioned to speak with their doctor before taking or continuing to take methimazole, this medication. So no adverse effects have been found in nursing infants, but it's best to consult your doctor before breastfeeding while taking methimazole.